A sea of flame. Anaya was sitting in the middle of it, lost in sorrow, images of her past life flickering behind her closed lashes. It started as a flicker, a heap of calf straw caught a runaway spark. A stable boy was trying to light a lantern with a knife and a flint. Then a small flame caught on a feed, and then it all went awry. Explosions sounded, and in an instant, a quiet circus caravan was a sea of roaring flame, gluttonously eating all wagons and tents in its path. People started running around trying to put the flame out. There was no use. Anaya saw the looming fate this morning. An instant later, all the exits were blocked by the raging flames, trapping all inside the camp. People started panicking and running around in circles. Why bother? She thought. The flames will not burn her. It was not the first time Anaya was met with disaster on her journey. In fact, since she started her quest to find her mother, she was met with disaster every time she found a place to belong. This was unfortunate, but it just meant those people, and this caravan, are not who she will spend the rest of her life with. They are not for her. She will pick up what is left from her wagon when the flames die down. So she sat in the middle of that raging sea, remembering lost in past, while the flames drowned all around her. The first thing that came to her mind was the day she found the cards. It was an exquisite deck, hand-painted set of cards, an old crone, a regular of her father's lodging, left behind. The cards had a weight to them, some kind of a pull that resonated deep down her stomach. As if the cards wanted her to pick them up, to use them. Anaya knew the crone had them. She played with them few nights before, when she came to her father's lodging. It was a cold winter in the north. She can still remember the cold seeping through the wooden fur-covered walls. She stayed with them a few nights. There was a big thunderstorm on the night before she found the deck. In fact, it was the hardest she had ever seen before or since. Anaya remembered shivering in her bed in the middle of the night, unable to fall asleep, when she heard footsteps and screeching of the front door. Wind came howling in, and then the door shut with a bang, wood groaning as it was ground together. The hatch came down, and it was silent again. The storm was raging, but the house was safe. The crone never came back. Father went looking, but found no trace. The only testimony of her existence was a magnificent deck left behind for Anaya on a dining table. She asked about the crone, but her father remained ever silent. A few days later, when the storm passed, her father sat her down the table and told her of her birth. Until that day, she never knew she was not his real daughter. He found her in a living room on a lightning-crossed night 16 years earlier, a day after he buried his wife and a newborn son. His wife died at birth. Stricken by grief, he took her in to fill the void of his heart. Another memory flashed in Anaya's head, the day she left to find her real family. She vividly remembers the pull she felt, the call of the world unknown. The cards had a will of their own. She knew that from the first moment they touched her skin, and they wanted to go and find their place in the world. And she wanted the same. To find who she really was and where she came from. A hot tear rolled down Anaya's cheek. Those memories are all that is left of her father and the house she grew up in. She had not returned home ever since. 5 years of searching really goes by quickly. Anaya smiled. She met a lot of wonderful people, told countless fortunes, and entertained the masses with her stories. She liked telling tales and listening to all the different ones throughout the continent. Since she had no tale of her own, she was drawn to them. She liked to put herself in the stories he heard, sometimes as a heroine, sometimes as a supporting character, but she always had a purpose and a part to play in each and every one of them. She lived her own life, weaving her own story, one thread at a time. She had different jobs on her travels. She washed dishes in Urgir for a while was a dancer in Throne Step and a waitress in Starfall before joining this group of traveling entertainers. But everywhere she stayed for a while, whenever she thought this might be the place, something did not feel right, and she was urged to go on. Urgir had a rat infestation, and she heard they brought a plague with them. Throne Step was a den of debauchery and gangs. Noah, the marketplace boss, who was one of the people she helped and told fortune to, was mistook for some noble and was struck down by assassins. She went to the funeral to say last goodbyes, but could not stay there any longer for all the looks that people gave her. Last she heard, the city's gangs are in a bloody turf war. And Starfall? Starfall would be a perfect city, if only the government were to deal with all that acrid smoke during the night. They are burning so much wood to run the forges that one can hardly have a breath of fresh air during the night. So she fled Starfall with this group. And now it is time to leave them for the next leg in her journey. The journey she is bound to take alone. Another tear slid down Anaya's cheek. She has to be strong and brave. The cards will show her the way. They always do. Opening her eyes, she wiped the tears away. She traveled with them the longest. She liked their spirit and openness, their stories and dances. They traveled together, and they embraced her as their own. A few years went like that, and lately she felt like she really belonged. Like she finally had a place in the world. The only thing she could do was weep in silence, for no one had listened when she warned them before. The fire has died down to cinders and small flickering flames. The air was ripe with the stench of burnt flesh, wood, and waxed leather. She stood, slowly walked to her wagon. It too was touched by the fire. Scorched, but luckily not entirely burnt down. Anaya rummaged through the debris, uncovering the cards. Of course they would be fine. Those cards are always fine. She picked up the cards, took her backpack, stuffed whatever of her belongings was left usable into it, and walked out of the camp, never looking back to what she is leaving in her wake.